Which is worse, a guilty man going free or an innocent man being falsely convicted? This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And this is David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. All right, so yeah, I mean, every criminal case, that's the sort of the wire that we're walking on. So talk a little bit about that, the proof that has to be met to send somebody to conviction.
Right, so it has to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And, our founding fathers actually said it's better for 100 guilty men to go free than for one innocent man to suffer. And that's the law. If the state has not been able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and I know that's a legal term of art, but if they can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the accused not guilty. And, we have kind of some examples of this. If you remember, David, you and I kind of went through what's a simple example?
Yeah, so we're talking about, really simple, just to demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt, which is words we've heard a lot, but then we sort of unpack, what does that actually mean? So if we have, let's say, what we talked about is a guy named Alex who has been arrested for robbery, and now he's on trial for whether he actually did this robbery or not. So what does it look like if there still is a reasonable doubt?
Sure. In the scenario, just quite simply, if there's reasonable doubt, say my client Alex was in fact in the neighborhood where the robbery took place, and he was, in fact, seen right in front of the store by witness A. And other than that, there weren't any fingerprints that could connect him to the robbery in the store. There weren't any eyewitnesses seeing him rob the store. And there wasn't any evidence of anything, at his home that was taken from the store. So, he's the only person that the police are able to even put in the area of where the robbery occurred. They have no other evidence of anyone else being there. And so they charge the case and take it to trial. And then the jury's asked, based on what is Alex guilty or not guilty?
Right, and there's a huge amount of doubt because there's really not enough to pin this crime, that particular crime on that particular day on that particular guy. So what does it look like? Same scenario with Alex and the robbery, but there's enough evidence to get it all the way to guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sure, the same set of facts. So we've got an eyewitness who says they see Alex in front of the store. And then we've got security footage in the store itself, which, it's not quite pointed in the right direction, but it does show Alex or a person with a red hat, which is what Alex was wearing, coming through the front door. Now, that's all that we can see, but we at least, the jury at least hears evidence that a man who is the same height and wearing a red hat is then seen coming into the store. And in the store, the officers do sweep for fingerprints, and they're able to find Alex's fingerprints on the glass of the counter where the register is. And then they they have a search warrant signed, and they conduct a search of his apartment, and they find some of the missing property from the store in Alex's apartment. Now, this case goes before the jury, and the jury is able to determine that even though they don't see Alex in the security camera doing the actual robbery, they do have enough evidence, circumstantial evidence and direct evidence, to find Alex guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right. Okay. So that's what we would find for reasonable doubt. And I always kind of wonder about this word reasonable. I guess an unreasonable doubt would be something you might have seen in a movie that you could dream up, where somebody in a red hat puts gloves on with Alex's fingerprints on the gloves and then steals the stuff and puts it in his apartment.
Not really reasonable.
Like you could make it's not right. That's what I'm saying. That's unreasonable doubt, and so that would not qualify either. So that's where we get this standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. So that seems really, really clear. And of course, an attorney really needs to fight for the defendant, the Alex, in that situation, to make sure that that standard is met. So how might they get in touch with you?
Sure. We'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.